Hi everybody, Zeev Simon here. Welcome to this video. And this one I'm going to talk about extraction mechanics, and it's part of my new extraction book called The Perfect Pull. So I'm excited to share this with you. Now, if you've ever extracted a tooth and felt like you've been pulling really hard, the tooth did not move, or even worse, it fractured, this is a good video for you, because most dentists think that extraction requires force, but it's a lie. It's not true. Extractions are not about strength. It's about direction. It's about using the right force at the right moment, in the right direction. If you use force without control, it's going to get you in trouble. So I want you to shift from using pure force. This is a photo of my grandfather. He was also an artist, and you can see that character pulling as hard as he can to extract the tooth. Obviously, it's not going to work. Dental school did not teach us how to think mechanically during an extraction. Every tooth has a path of least resistance. The anatomy varies, the circumstances varies, and if you're not familiar with those circumstances, it's going to be pretty hard to extract a tooth. So in my book, The Perfect Pull, I have a chapter dedicated to the engineering of the extraction, because I consider an extraction an engineering project. So when it comes to forces you would use for an extraction, we have three types of forces. We have the rotation forces, the lateral forces, and the traction forces. The rotation is typically the force you're going to be starting with. It's a twisting motion that is meant to sever the PDL fibers. And by the way, this is true for any tooth anatomy. You always want to start with rotation if you have enough tooth structure to grab on. And then we proceed with lateral forces, basically side-to-side movements that also are meant to expand the socket laterally and create some additional mobility. And then I typically go back to the rotational forces to see if mobility increases. And lastly, I'm going to use traction forces, which is basically pulling the tooth straight out of the socket. To summarize, the most common scenario in extractions is using rotational first for about 60 seconds, then lateral forces for about another 60 seconds, then more rotational forces until the tooth is loose, and then finally traction for the removal. The problem is that most dentists default to one of these forces, usually rotation, or go straight for the traction, but that's usually where roots snap and you get some bone damage. I'm going to be sharing this in the upcoming book, The Perfect Pull. Now, I wanted to share a case with you where I implement the three types of forces, and this is a case where there are two hopeless teeth, a premolar and an upper molar. The premolar had no tooth structure, it's all decayed, so I used the Benex extraction system, which is a pure extraction system where I anchor an extraction screw into the remaining root, one of those roots, and then I use a pulley system that connects to the extraction screw. The white part here is the bumper. The screw itself is connected through a cable to the pulley system, and once I rotate the knob, I can remove the tooth with pure vertical forces or pure traction forces, and that's indicated for this type of situation. Now, when it came to the molar, this is not going to work because we have three roots and they're in different directions. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using forceps A or universal forceps to remove the crown of this tooth. I'm going to create a T-split between the two buccal roots, the mesiobuccal and the distal buccal. I'm going to be using either a large cutting burr or the 151 long, and separate the two buccal roots and the palatal root. And once each one is mobilized, don't rush to use extraction forceps C or the root forceps. Use medium straight elevators to create some additional mobility. And only when those roots are mobile, you can reach out to the forceps and remove each one to minimize the trauma on the socket and to prevent breakage of bone. So the result here, when you use this extraction system, is that you minimize surgical trauma, it's more time efficient, and you're going to get a better result in terms of bone grafting and preparing the site for an implant. So this is just one principle out of many that I share in the new book, The Perfect Pull. There's more to share about the mechanics of extraction. In the new book, I'm going to break down a complete system to help you extract teeth with confidence, with control, the same way I perform extractions as a surgical specialist. So whether you're dealing with simple or complex extractions, the strategies in this book are going to help you move with precision and avoid mishaps and complications. This book is coming soon. Stay tuned. It's almost here.